Off-Road Podcast, episode 260, Tire Talk.
Tonight, Aaron goes to the beach. Jeremy's got stuff in his drawers, and Ben doesn't get shot.
And welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben. I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron and Jeremy. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing well.
Pretty good, except things already going off the rails, apparently.
It is going off the rails.
What's a show without going off the rails, right?
A normal show for us?
Yeah.
I did just get a notification saying that saying that we are live on YouTube. For those who might be listening and didn't know, we are also broadcasting to YouTube.
We are broadcasting to YouTube. So if you want to see our pretty faces, well, our pretty faces and Ben's, we'll just not go there. But yeah, check us out at YouTube. You get to see some little behind the scenes action. You can see Aaron's bathroom back there. Ben's he's too embarrassed to show what's behind him, so he puts up a fake background, and you can check out my cool wood wall with some patches up top.
Wow, it must be my garage is so messy it's embarrassing.
Something like that.
Yep. Well, what's new, Jeremy?
Well, I ended up fixing my drawers, so I ended up cutting a chunk out of my drawers in order to go ahead and take advantage of some of the space underneath the rear carpeting. So I ended up pulling out a piece of the carpeting to access the where the jack is and everything. One of the things that I found out when I ended up breaking is I definitely do not have easy access to my jack. I thought, I could probably just lift the drawers pretty easily and get to the jack because it's right at the edge of the tailgate. Yeah, it wasn't that easy. So we ended up using somebody else's jack. So now I can actually get to my jack. And while I was doing that, I just went ahead and rearranged some stuff as well.
Right on. I know how that is, digging through all my crap. What about you, Aaron?
Well, I am still cranking away at my podcast room. I can't remember if I mentioned it last week or not, but I got it all painted and got the cabinets hung. And now I have a really cool shelf wall. It's basically a wall of shelf. The shelves are approximately 9 inches in spacing apart that I was able to put all my ammo cans on, and it looks really trick. So just stacking all the ammo cans up on the wall from almost floor to ceiling.
So do they have little dividers so you just slide them in and slide them out?
No, so the ammo cans, so it's a really shallow shelf. Today's podcast is brought by the letter S. It's a shallow shelf, and the ammo cans is what I have my ammo in, and they're all turned sideways, so they're kind of flat against the wall. So the shelves are only 5 inches deep, except for the very top one is 8 inches deep for the bigger ammo cans.
Sounds cool.
And then I also got my gun safe moved into its final resting location. The next step for the podcast room, which I'm hoping to get banged out this week, is the accent wall. And then once the accent wall is done, I can work on my desktop for that room, which is going to be a really cool, laminated wood desktop that's going to be really sturdy. Hopefully it'll also double as a reloading bench down the road.
Sweet. Are you going to do any sound deadening foam things on the wall to help with echo? I mean, you don't really get much echo as is, but a smaller room, you might get that.
Yeah, I am concerned about that. I'm going to roll the dice right now. I've got the cabinets are low enough that there's more than a foot of space above them. So I've got my sleeping bags and some other soft goods up there that I'm hoping will absorb some sound. I'm going to put a rug on the floor in that room also to help with that. So yeah, there's some things that I do plan to do to mitigate sound. I hope I don't have to do much because I don't want to really have foam all over my room. I want the glory of the wood to show.
Well,
and I'm talking about all this gun stuff too. I don't. It's just decoration, like all the ammo cans and reloading press. It is just decorations because all my guns. I had a terrible boating accident a few years ago.
Well, that's good.
A few years ago. What about the ones you bought like 2 months ago?
There's about to be another boating accident.
Oh, okay. You could just say you lost them in your farm field.
Yeah.
So Ben, what have you been up to?
Well, I went camping with the Jamie from Lady Owned Toyotas, Maltby Fab Pete, and a bunch of other people. We did not socially distance at all.
Lady owned Toyotas, but you're a guy. Is there something we didn't know?
Well, so I've been on this mission to get my wife out more. And
Didn't know what mission you were going to talk about.
No, I'm still gonna say stay Ben, no Ben Arena. But I'm pretty active in their Facebook group. Because I'm not a douche canoe. I'm pretty good at helping out when people ask questions. So I'm fortunate enough to be one of the few guys in the group. But so I went camping with Jamie and a bunch of other people. My wife, they did a run, and my wife drove my 4Runner, and I took some pictures. And then I got shot, or thought I did. So we were sitting around the campfire. I was roasting up a peep. Thanks for the idea, Jeremy. And I leaned forward. I had one foot in the fire pit, and I was holding the peep on the roaster because it wasn't that big of a fire for the first night. And I look down and I see this can, and I barely see the butane wording on the side of it. I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be in the fire. And I moved it with my boot just a little bit. It was close enough to the fire though that it exploded. The bottom of it exploded and shot me in the chest, just under the heart. Um, and I'm sure, as any of you could think or imagine, Aaron died there. How scary that would be. It scared the Jesus out of me. I ran off because I didn't want to scare my kids.
Ran off.
Well, I didn't want to scare my kids if I had shrapnel coming out of my chest, or blood. So I ran off. I ran into the front of the 4Runner, and I just started patting myself down because I felt something hit me. And fortunately enough, it was just the base of the can, and it fell away, and I'm fine. But it really,
Well, let's not go that far.
yeah, yeah. But fortunately enough, the kids were behind me. My wife was away from the fire at the time, and the rest of the shrapnel, because there was glass and stuff in the fire pit, from previous people there. Uh, it missed Jamie and my sister-in-law. So yeah, it was pretty. We found a big chunk of glass about the size, about as round as a quarter, in my wife's chair, embedded in it. So yeah, fun times. But I did some camping. I didn't die, and I didn't need to use first aid. So good times.
Well, that's good. All joking aside, we're glad you didn't get injured at all. So
Yeah,
kind of scary.
It was super scary. Like I ran to the front of the 4Runner. I'm just patting myself down. I'm like, "Where's the blood? Where's the blood? I don't see anything." And it took me a while to calm down. Like then I finally lifted up my shirt and shined my flashlight on it. I'm like, "No blood, no blood." Um, and then I'm like worried about more butane cans in the fire pit. So I took my Carhartt jacket and I draped it over my shoulder and kind of used it, or my forearm, and used it like a shield, and was throwing rocks like grenades into the fire pit to make sure there was no other other cans.
I hope they weren't river rocks.
Huh?
I hope they weren't river rocks.
No. They were just we were camping up at Greenwater, so I mean.
So, how full was the fire pit already if you didn't see a propane bottle in there?
So it was a butane bottle about the size of this Mountain Dew here. Well, you can't see it with the green screen. So it was a butane bottle. Well, I'll use both hands here. About this big. The can size, their spray paint can size. And it was buried in the ashes. And I was moving the ashes around just before with my shovel. And then there was some glass bottles that were already broken, and I'd been throwing glass in there because the people who were there before trashed the camp. There was some beer cans in the fire. There was a green propane bottle in the fire, but we pulled that out beforehand. And then it was like paper, like cases of beer, cardboard. So yeah, it was a fun night.
You could have just started firing your gun in there, and then that would have been a really big explosion if you had hit one.
I should have thought of that. I probably could have done that. That would have been probably safer than. Probably not. Not really.
I don't think that's ever safer.
No, actually. Speaking of which, the guys. So our last night there. So I got there Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. The guys Saturday night were we were kind of in a 10-foot drop into our campsite. There was guys in the field across from us that were drinking, driving, and shooting. It got a little sketchy. I don't think I will return to that spot ever again because of that.
It's just awful how people can just ruin stuff and make you not want to go somewhere again. You love an area, you love a place, you love a thing, and people can just be jerks and ruin it.
Yeah.
It really did ruin the mood for me. That last night, because I was drinking, and so it was like, all right, well, I can't leave and go call the cops because I've been drinking. That would be contradictory of what I'd been doing, so it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. In the comments, Rick says that you needed safety Jeep there.
Yeah, that probably would have been a good idea. Speaking of Rick, I drank some vanilla whiskey. Thanks, Rick, because you got me hooked on this stuff.
Well, was it vanilla whiskey or was it vanilla Crown? Because that's what Rick always drinks.
It's vanilla Jim Beam. It was cheaper.
That's not the same thing.
It had vanilla in it.
Yeah, close enough for me, man.
And it was a whiskey.
Yeah.
And thanks to Rick, I'm drinking vanilla Coke.
Rick says yum.
Yeah, he does.
So I think the best part about being live on YouTube is I can see Aaron do his little finger guns in the in our Zoom meeting, and then I can look over to my YouTube screen and see Aaron do it again.
Nice.
Well, don't forget to visit Patriot Patch Company and join their Patch of the Month Club. Check out their great selection of patches. They're always dropping some new ones. Most recently, they dropped the Squirtle. Dang it, what's that called? I'm spacing on it. Stormtrooper, the Squirtle Trooper.
I'm so mad I missed out on that one.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't get you one. That thing sold out in 2 minutes and 39 seconds. That was
100
fast.
of them.
100 of them. So make sure you're the best way to get in on those limited time only patches is join the patch trading group on Facebook. That's where I keep hearing about them. Join there. Jake likes to post them up couple days in advance, he'll start posting some teasers, and that's the best way to get it. I got my Squirtle Trooper coming to go with my my Pika Child that I showed last week. I wish I had gotten the Charmandalorian, but still looking for it.
That's gonna be a
Yeah,
hard
I see
one
you're
to get.
still looking. I don't think you're gonna. I don't think anybody's gonna give them up. I think you're gonna have to spend big bucks to buy it. They only made
Yeah.
50 of them.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Was the
spend big
first one
bucks to
only
get him.
50?
Yeah, he only made 50. We were talking to him on the We Like Shooting cult group, and we're like, you really underestimated the demand on those, and he said, "Yep."
I was pretty surprised. I was chatting with him via email one day. We were talking about farm stuff, and we were talking about that, and he was telling me what was coming up next, or maybe that was Ryan that was telling me what was coming up next. But either way, I was talking to him about those, and he's like, "Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was going to take off." I'm like, "Dude, people make these limited 100 runs, and they're nobodies that make these things, and they sell out. You're somebody. It should have never been an issue."
So I'm gonna have to check what my thinking is on what's coming next. Then off air.
Yeah.
Cheater.
Cheater. I already have an idea.
Oh,
I just want to see if my idea is right.
you think it's Bulbasaur?
Yep.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button. The news is brought to you by PowerTank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Well, this week for the news, our first story is Vision X modular light bar. Have you guys seen that?
I saw it on Facebook just today.
Oh, I'm actually pretty stoked for this. I'm generally not Mr. Huge light bar guy. Actually, I have had a light bar, so I guess I am. Whatever. I'm actually, I like the idea of the modularity. It will actually, if I'm looking at it right, it looks like it uses the same type of bar track system that my roof rack uses. So I'll actually be able to use it fairly easy with my roof rack if I decide to fit that on there.
Oh, like replace a front bar with this bar?
Yeah, or maybe not even replace the front bar, but like add it into the system with like a link slider thing. I don't know what they're called, but yeah.
Gotcha.
So I got to be a little bit of the contrarian, I guess. I don't get it. I don't see the point. I don't see why.
So instead of making all right, here's a 60-inch light bar, a 40-inch light bar, a 30-inch, a 20-inch, a 10-inch. You have all these light pods that are, say, 2 inches. We'll say they're 2 inches. I don't know how big they are. I haven't read that far into the story.
I don't think it really says, but they look about 2 inches.
So 2 inches.
2 to 3 inches.
You can have 2 to as long as you want, depending upon your amperage there, and not melting wires, long of a light bar.
Yeah, but I mean, I still don't get it, because I can just buy whatever length light bar I want. I understand that you can't be, you're not going to have the same incremental length, but when I see something modular, I think that the reason it should be modular is so you can change it up on the fly and change it up easily. But I just don't see the need to change up your light bar that much.
I think from a business standpoint, though, all they have to do is make those individual lights and the different size bars. It makes it easier for manufacturing, shipping, building.
But do you think that they're going to go to just making this? I don't think so. I think they're going to still make every single light bar they've made, and they're just adding this to the collection.
Does Vision X have a bunch of light bars?
So my thought on the modularity is that you can buy different styles of lights. So you could do a spot on the outsides or in the center, and then you do your floods. Then you throw a couple ambers in there, and then you could put a blue and red strobe at the outsides or something like that. I have a feeling they're come up with a bunch of different styles of pods, and the pods are going to be what makes the modularity system complete.
I guess, but I don't know. I still see it as you can buy the light bar with you pick the light bar that has the right combination of flood and spots that you're looking for, and you call it a day.
Yeah.
Maybe there isn't enough versions of those types of things out there. I do know that they make some light bars with floods and some with spot, or some with flood and spot, and strobe capability. But maybe this just allows you to make it unique to your desires or whatever.
Yeah.
My concern is aiming it. If there's all those individual lights are rigidly mounted to that bar, and so I guess all you could do is rotate the bar up and down. That's all you'd be able to do, like a typical light bar. Whereas if you had individual lights up there, you could turn all those lights not only up and down individually, but in and out individually.
Yeah, but think about how much of a pain that would be, whacking it on tree branches and all. You'd be constantly trying to keep those things aligned.
I never had a problem when I had 4 HIDs up on top. The only time I ever had to readjust was when I went to visit Ben's wife in the hospital after she had a baby, and
Ben wasn't there.
No, Ben wasn't there. I visited his wife and gave her flowers without him.
Whoa.
And my Nissan hit the pole, the like PVC pole that hangs down in the parking garage. And as I saw it, and I was like, it's going to be close. And I hit it, and that thing was filled with concrete, or it was a metal tube. It wasn't a PVC tube like it looked like, and like I've seen in other parking structures. And it bent all of them back. But I mean, it was a hard hit for it to do that. I felt it in the cab of the truck. So I've never had my lights move on me like that before. Even like lots of driving and vibration, they don't move. Probably because I use the Gudentite torque spec.
I love the Gudentite torque spec.
I know you do. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm interested to see how this pans out. We have a friend in that company actually, and maybe he can give us some insight into that.
Yeah, or maybe we can just get Vision X on the show. I mean, they are local to us.
They are. Yep.
Me, not Jeremy. He's too far away. You and you're in Portland.
Did you say not Jeremy?
I said, yeah, you're too far away.
Portland's closer than me?
I said you're both far away.
Ben's having some drinks tonight.
Apparently.
It's been a long weekend. I woke up hungover on Saturday, if that says anything. And I haven't been hungover in forever. So our next story here is, at last, the 2021 Ford Bronco is it's been announced. It's
yeah, so it's a short article. Basically it just says that they're going to reveal it on July 9th. So in our last episode or the previous episode, we mentioned that they had chosen a month, but they hadn't chosen a date in that month. So I think we said that it's coming out in July. So now they've whittled it down. Out of those 31 days, they've whittled it down to July 9th. So we've got a day. It's coming up. July 9th is like 24 days from now, if I'm doing my math right. So in 3.5 weeks, we're going to find out some Bronco news.
Yeah. And they have the video of the Ford Bronco and Bronco Sport leaked in there. And I look at it and I just want to buy it.
The Bronco Sport?
Yeah, I think it's the Sport is the nice looking one.
No, the Bronco Sport is the Ford Flex looking one.
Oh, never mind. No, the
it's
other one.
The unibody.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You want the unibody?
No. All right, so it's not the Sport.
I'm so glad we have video now.
Yeah. See, I think Aaron, I think instead of getting a JL, you should just try to get one of these.
Well,
What?
it's funny that you mentioned that.
You're Nissan man. You're Nissan man.
So you guys are like letting top secrets out that our listeners don't know about.
Oh, I think we're just joking at this point in time.
Yeah, I don't know how I'll swing it, but I want to swing it. And honestly, I would prefer the Bronco only because it's totally unique. But my concern is that it has zero reputation. I know Ford has a reputation, but this is a brand new rig. I don't know what the aftermarket will or won't do. Can you fit 35s or 37s with minimal to no lift? I mean, what's all the details behind it? I don't know, but I'd love to get a Bronco. I think that'd be tits.
I think so everybody was slow to react on the JK market, and they ended up losing a lot of market share because they were just slow to get those products out there because they didn't think people were going to be out wheeling them. And that definitely showed when the JL hit the market, and everything just flooded the market as soon as the JL dropped. I think the Bronco is going to be kind of the same way. I think that manufacturers are looking at it and wanting to make sure that they don't miss the train on this one.
That would be the smart thing to do. I wonder if they're going to release specs to companies ahead of time to see if they'll build bumpers and stuff. I know.
I really hope so.
It would be the smart thing to do because unless they're trying to do like Jeep this time with the JL and trying to keep a lot of that money by offering their own products, which I thought was kind of idiotic. But I would expect that Ford is going to go ahead and just try to make it as big as possible by getting that stuff out there.
Yeah, that would be the smart thing for Ford to do, and I think they will, considering they raced it in the Baja 1000. They want people to see it. They want it to sell. It could really do good for Ford.
Has it been confirmed? I've forgotten now. Has it been confirmed if it's IFS up front?
I don't know.
I thought everything I saw was not IFS, but
I thought the Mini was it the Bronco, the little Bronco? I can't remember what they're calling it.
The Sport.
Is that the little one?
Yeah. Hey, Sport.
That they were saying that one was IFS.
Yeah, that one definitely is because it's unibody.
But I don't know about the full.
Well, XJs are unibody.
Those disposable heroes.
And they come with solid axles. So it can be done.
No, they don't come with solid axles anymore.
Well, okay.
They haven't come with solid axles for a long time.
Well, the XJs.
No, I know. What I'm saying is they don't make it. That's what I'm getting at. Nobody on the market's making any solid axle
unibodies anymore. No.
They're hardly making solid axle up front.
I know.
Trucks.
I know it.
Everybody wants the Cush ride. The Cush.
The way of the dodo.
Nope. I don't want the Cush ride. I want the rock crawling ability.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for the main topic, guys.
Go prepared with Warn Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warn equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, that was a terrible little plug there.
Yeah, I don't know what what is up with the my computer with that audio. That was weird.
That was awful.
Is the Chinese who are being hacked just like our cell phones and the banks.
They want us.
What was that about? Anyway.
Have you guys not heard about all the cell phones crashing recently?
Oh, today? I heard
that. I was having serious issues with mine last night.
Yeah, I heard T-Mobile was down today. So
yeah. Do tell. What do you mean?
Like you couldn't receive calls. You could make calls, but if you were on the T-Mobile network, you couldn't receive calls.
Are you on? No, you're on. Are you on Verizon?
I'm on Verizon, and I was having crazy problems last night. So it started like at 5:30 and it went till after 11 o'clock. And it was like every 3 minutes, I'd go from 4G to just completely shut down. And then it'd work its way back up to 4G and then completely like just an X, just nothing. It was crazy. And now banks, at least 2 banks, are having issues. It's like if a whole bunch of people flood a website all at the same time, the website can't handle the traffic and it crashes. That's what I'm told that has happened.
Well,
so our main topic, tech talk, about Chinese bots.
Well, so tonight's main topic is tire talk. Figure we can kind of. I'm getting ready to change tire size, and not a used tire this time, and it's kind of an interesting, trying to figure out which tire is right for you, which size is right for you, and so why don't we start with that? What is the right size?
And why BF Goodrich is the best brand?
Yeah, I mean, right size. I mean, that depends a lot on vehicle and what you really want to do with it. I mean, if you want to do some rock crawling, the general logic is the bigger the better, because those bigger tires let you crawl up bigger obstacles typically.
So I've actually recently seen some discussion, had some discussion with that, because a lot of guys in our area they've gone beyond 35s. They're going 37s and 40s. And I had a talk with a buddy the other day that all these guys are doing is they're making their wheeling not as fun because you're not challenged, because it's easier to get over obstacles with the larger tires. You're breaking more stuff when you could use a little more throttle control and skill. And get through those obstacles and have more fun wheeling with the experience. I mean, Aaron and I had the best time wheeling a Volkswagen Bug on 28.5-inch tires.
Yeah, but
29.5 inch.
I want you to go and put 29.5-inch tires on your 400 and see if that's fun.
I'm going to need a lot better skid plates for that.
That's probably what it came with, actually. Honestly, it probably came with 29-inch tires from the factory. Yeah. My Nissan came with 31s from the factory, and those were the largest that were offered for that truck. And it's all relative, though, too. So Ben's talking about the Stink Bug. It has a really short wheelbase. If you put 33s on a Geo Tracker, Suzuki Samurai, something really, really short, even like a TJ or something, they're so short that your breakover angle is still really good. Your approach and departure angle is great. So 40s on a Geo Tracker, they probably would rub in the middle. Now 40s on a Dodge Power Wagon, like a factory Dodge Power Wagon with 40s, that would probably be appropriate because of the length of the rig and stuff like that. It's still going to need quite a bit of lift to be able to stuff those in there. Maybe 40s is a little extreme, but 37s or 38s on a Power Wagon.
I don't know. Putting 40s on a Power Wagon, you would still have a terrible breakover angle. I mean, you're helping.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you start increasing that length, it takes a lot of tire to make up for that extra breakover.
Mm-hmm. And actually, now that I said that, I think that AEV sells 40s on some of their Power Wagon setups.
I've got a buddy in Search and Rescue, and I want to say he has 40s on his Power Wagon.
Yeah.
He got like a mild lift. He is AEV'd out, so
yeah.
What is the money for that? Jeez, those AEV stuff are so expensive.
Yeah.
Well, so you got to read up on what's going to fit your rig. So if you don't have a rig, you need to choose a rig first, obviously, before you're picking tires and stuff like that. But so you got to find out what will fit your rig with what kind of lift. So for instance, Ben, you've been talking recently about you want to go to 35s. So what does it take to go to 35s on your rig?
So let's see. I've got I needed upper and lower, or I needed upper control arms to help with the caster. I need, you can do it without a 3-inch lift, but I'm doing a 3-inch lift. You need a little bit of lift. You need better wheel back spacing, so you'd either need spacers or different wheels. Um, I need a body mount chop, and then I have to do a snorkel because my fender, as you guys saw from the pictures I shared over the weekend, um, my air intake is right in my fender, and my fender is already trimmed, and dust and water are just getting thrown up into the intake. So I need to fix that, and the easiest solution, for in my head, is to just do a snorkel, and then I'll just throw a pre-filter up there. And
I'm jealous of your pre-filter. To go on a little sidetrack here, I've had one of those in my Amazon cart for probably 3 years. Even before I had a snorkel, I had that little pre-filter doodad up there. And maybe like 6 months ago, it was discontinued, the model I was looking at.
Womp womp.
I've had a pre-filter on my off-road Amazon list. I have like just stuff on Amazon that's, I'm like, I might want that one day. I've had one on there since I had a snorkel on my JK.
Yeah, the only trick is that you have to make sure that it is sized right, because they make different diameter um, intake holes that will slide onto your snorkel. It's got to be the right size. So, yeah. Okay, so that's what you got to do to yours to make it fit. Jeremy, on a JK, you want to run 35s. What do you got to do on a JK?
Pretty much it's just a mild lift, and you're right there. A lot of people, what's that?
Fender trim too.
Yeah, a lot of people will trim the stock fenders, but a lot of people just go ahead and swap out the fenders. I mean, I like having the. I think, who was it that taught? We had a guest on the show recently, and Bobby was talking about how he loves having the Jeep because you have the metal fenders on, and you can just throw that thing into rocks and you're not getting into the body. Most people are going to just do the fenders while they're there. If they have to do anything, sometimes I've seen people do the fender chop, but I don't really care for that. My biggest thing with, and we kind of talked a little bit about it, or Ben kind of mentioned it, was a lot of the times the thing that's going to limit you on your tire size is going to be, you're going to start breaking stuff. So like the main thoughts on the JK is, if you're really going to wheel it and really going to get into the rocks, you don't want to go bigger than 35s on the stock Rubicon axles, because you're going to start breaking things. Some people run 37s, especially a lot of the overlanders can go up to 37s. I know Dan's got 37s on his JK that's not a Rubicon. But I think he was talking about having some problems recently with that.
Yeah. So if you've got a sport, you've got a Dana 30, which is a lot weaker. Or is it Dana 30 or 35? 30. And
30.
So it's a lot weaker axle and more prone to braking, especially when you get to a rock and you throw a bunch of throttle at it. When it catches, it's going to snap that axle. 44s, a Dana 44 up front, which is what the Rubicon comes with. That's you go bigger than a 35, you're more prone to breaking an axle. I mean, with 35s or 33s, you still can break an axle. You really got to watch your skinny pedal.
Yeah. Rick also brought up a really good point. You also get limited in your gears and in your engine. Yep. You typically, when you're like on the JKs, when you go to 35s, you typically want to replace the gearing as well. I benefited from having the AEV Hemi, so it's got a lot more low end power, so that makes up for the gearing difference. But you definitely want to be thinking about gears, especially if you're planning on crawling. I mean, if you're overlanding, you can get away with a lot more tire. But at the same time, if you're just overlanding it, you don't really need the tire.
Yeah. And you still benefit from the regearing.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is something that a lot of people don't take into account is, and me, for instance, I'm getting ready to go to 35s. I don't have to regear right away, but I'm better doing it because otherwise I'm going to be going up a hill and I'm going to be searching for gears, and that's not always so fun.
Yep. Well, so we kind of touched on it also. You got to know what your wheeling goals are. Are you overlanding? Are you mall crawling? Are you rock crawling? Are you mud hunting? Are you looking for the bounty hole and you just need the biggest tire you can get?
The bounty hole.
You're not watching those YouTube videos of those mud trucks and the mud parties, and
I didn't know they called it a bounty hole. No, I don't really like mud, so I don't really watch the mud videos.
Well, I only watch them to remind me that I don't like mud.
Every time I see one of those, all I can think of is, man, that sucks to clean up afterwards. Like, I'm sure you guys have been under your rig wrenching, and you gotten mud or rust in your eyes.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
No rust under my rig.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope not. Yeah, so you got to know what your wheeling goals are to help you make the decision on what the right size is. So moving on from the size, you got to choose the style. So that also is your wheeling goals. So you need an all-terrain, you need a mud terrain, you need a hybrid. Some people talk about using snow tires for mud tires or off-road tires, and that's unique. And then there's street tires for the Brodozers and the Jeeps on the 24-inch rims. So, yeah, there's those guys. So I love my mud terrains.
So really quickly, I want to get into while we're talking about tire size. We should probably also talk about wheel size. So
that's a good point.
You see that a lot where people are asking, hey, can I fit these tires on 20-inch rims? And they're asking about 35s. And just the general logic is you need, Ben, you need twice as much tire. So your tire diameter needs to be twice the size of your rim diameter if you're going to be off-roading it. So if you have 17-inch rims, you should have at least 34-inch tires. Now you can get away with a little bit under, but you definitely don't want to put 35s on 20-inch rims for wheeling.
So I have 17s and factory, what was I, like 31, I want to say. And now I'm on 33s. And a lot of the newer rigs come with a 33-inch or a 17-inch rim.
Yeah, they do. And it's mostly because of the brakes. They're making bigger and bigger brakes, which is great. But that makes it harder to wheel on stuff. It used to be 15 was like the go-to wheel size. And then it turned to 16s, and now it's all the way up to 17.
Yeah. Yeah, it hopefully it doesn't go much bigger than that, because I wouldn't want to try doing 33s with 20-inch rims.
It's just a good excuse to get 40s.
There you go.
Yeah, we can all dream.
Your rubber to rim
ratio
is
rubber to rim ratio.
Make sure you buy the right size rubbers for your rims.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've actually heard of people buying the wrong size tires for their rims and not realizing it.
Oh boy.
Oh, like buying a 16 instead of a 17.
Yeah. And it was like Super Swamp. I think it was like Super Swampers or something. One of those ones where it takes forever to get tires.
And they're expensive.
And then they're, okay, now I need to find new rims. And then they don't fit because their brake calibers are smaller.
And then they need to find new brakes.
Yep.
Well, I think we should just move on to onto styles.
Yeah. So I was starting to say that I like my mud terrains. I've been a big fan of the KM2s. I switched and I got like tons of life out of them on my truck. They lasted forever. They drove well. They had good road manners. They hummed, of course, but what off-road tire doesn't make noise? They were terrible in the snow. I had them siped. They still sucked. But I love the mud terrain. And when I drive, I've said this many times, when I drive my truck, I drive it like I stole it. I'm
you do.
as fast as I can go around corners. I'm
Have you been a
doing
passenger
this
with him, Jeremy?
speed
No,
limit
but
plus.
I've driven behind him and burned. So when we were down in Browns camp, we were going back to his house and I was following him, and I think I burned like almost half a tank in the hour-long drive because the Hemi's not a gas sipper. So
It was very mountainous though.
I got it. Yeah, but it's still way more gas that I burned when I was just going back with Rick.
Rick is older, and older people drive slower.
All I gotta sit passenger seat with Aaron sometimes. The oh no handle. Yeah, you're holding.
Wait till I get a sports car. I'll take you guys for a trip in a sports car. I'll show you how I really drive.
Oh.
Ooh,
So
Rick said
anyways,
ouch because you called him old.
Yeah. I just loved them because they were really, I don't know what, they had a really good grip on the pavement. They had really good cornering on the pavement, and they lasted a long time. So that's the street portion of it. And then when I was off road, I felt like they were really good off road. They did really good in the stuff that I needed to do. I would air them way down. I don't have bead locks. They still stay on the rims, although I've talked about taking two off the popping two off at the same time. They got pinched in like a washout ravine that went down the middle of the road, and I was giving it the skinny pedal. I think that's why they popped off, and I was aired down to like between 2 and 4. So lesson learned, don't go that low without bead locks. But there are other times that I was well under 10 and never had them pop off. So I love my mud terrains. I switched over to those all terrains, the KO2s, because they were supposed to be quieter. They were supposed to be better in the mud than the previous ones, and they were supposed to be really good in snow. They felt so squishy on my truck. They didn't feel like I had as good a traction, and I wore through them quickly because of how I drive. So I've switched back to the mud trains, and I'm happy again.
I've heard a lot of complaints about the KO2s with that sloppy feeling.
Yeah.
Did they just not have as rigid of a sidewall?
They must not have, although that was like one of the big selling videos that they showed, was like that tire in slow motion going up against what looks like a thick lawnmower blade, like scarring into the sidewall and still not blowing the tire out.
Yeah. So I run mud terrains now, and they work.
Do they?
They do work. I do okay in them. They are not as good in the snow as an all-terrain. I had my Duratrax before, and those just crawled through the snow. They really. I'm trying to think. They packed into the treads enough to keep grabbing. Is that what it? I can't remember. I don't know. They work.
It's more, so typically all terrains have more biting surface, so it has more vertical edges, and that's what's going to give you, because you have the mud terrains, which are bigger lugs further spaced apart. So the more edges that you have to bite in, that's typically going to give you the better traction in the snow, which is why siping does help on mud terrains, but it only goes so far.
Yeah, I really liked my Duratrax. But on the road, I noticed that in the wet, they were not as good. And mud trains aren't all that well good in the rain either. So,
yeah.
Rick, a +1 for the KO2s. Rick has KO2s, and
yes,
he does extremely well when we wheel. And for some reason, he rarely airs down to the pressures that we are aired down to. He likes to keep it high. So not high, but I mean, he airs down to like
where I go down to 15, or when I go down to 10, he's at like 15, 17.
Yeah. So I know that he does well with those KO2s on his JK. They're definitely a good match. So, and he's wheeled in some great off-road areas.
Yeah. And he does just fine in them. And maybe that does point to the softer sidewall. He says it's the old man finesse.
Yeah.
It could point to a softer sidewall that he doesn't have to air down as low. I know on my Toyo MTs, even airing down to 10, and it doesn't pooch out the tire very much. So that could be part of it.
Yeah. So there's like a middle ground between the AT and the MT. There's what's called the hybrid. And I feel like it's only new as of the last maybe 4 or 5 years. Maybe it's been out a little longer than that, but they're making
becoming more popular.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I would definitely say that technically the KO2s are an all-terrain tire, but I think they fall into that hybrid terrain.
Yeah.
The
one tracks kind of fall into that a little bit too.
I thought that they did, and the one that really jumps out at me are the Cooper STT Pros, I think is what they're called. Those are definitely a hybrid. They're a really aggressive mud all-terrain.
They just released a new tire. I want to say it's the Evolution. And our buddy Joe at Hawkeye Skunkworks just did a review on them. His buddy got them, and they seem like a really nice tire. And they're really affordable. That's actually been one I've been looking at is because I think I want to go with the hybrid. I've been waiting for the Milestar's new hybrid tire to come out in a 17-inch rim, but I think I'm gonna go with the Coopers because they've got more of a name brand behind them. I don't know. I haven't decided.
Yeah, do it. Don't do the Milestars. Do the Coopers.
I'm all for MTs. I'm kind of on Aaron's mind as well. I've had the hybrid tires. I had the Falcon Wild Peaks on my Taco, which I did like them, but they just a lot of the grip lacked in the wheeling terrain, which I think you get better wheeling out of some MTs. But again, it depends on what you're doing, because if you're kind of doing a lot of long distance overlanding, then you probably do want a kind of a hybrid all terrain.
Yeah, you'll gain back some fuel economy with them too.
Well, in road noise,
who cares about road noise?
That's
a wheeler.
Yeah, exactly. When I see people complaining about how loud their tires are on their off-road rig, I shake my head.
Yep. Well, and that's how I got my tires. Was the gal that owned the Jeep? She complained about the road noise, so she went like with the PF Goodrich Stealth or something like that. And I'm just like, I guess you don't off road.
She went with street tires.
They weren't. They're like a hybrid of an all-terrain street tire.
So, well, the next two categories here we had was street and snow, and we don't really need to talk about street tires. You can figure out how to buy street tires if you're an off-roader. And then the other one was snow tires. Those might be something that you want if you really are in a lot of snow specifically, and you want the snowflake rating that you get. Although there are mud tires and all-terrain tires that come with that snowflake rating.
Yeah, the that snowflake rating, the snowflake peak, it looks like a mountain peak. It's got a snowflake in it. Those tires, I want to say they get softer.
Yeah.
Softer
when it gets under 40 degrees, they get softer and you get more traction. But I really feel like that's mostly for hard surfaces,
on-road ice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I've actually seen a video where they took two like Subarus. One was or maybe it wasn't Subarus, but two of the same cars, except one was all-wheel drive and the other was rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. And
I think it was a rear-wheel drive BMW and an all-wheel drive Subaru. And the Subaru they put all seasons on, and the BMW they put
snow tires,
winter tires on it.
Yeah, winter tires.
And they went up a hill.
Yeah, and they raced around a track, and the difference was amazing. The two-wheel drive car outperformed the all-wheel drive car because of the tires. And
Yeah.
and that's, you really got to think about it. What's your terrain? Where are you going? What are you doing when you're choosing your tire?
I learned that almost the hard way with my all-wheel drive Subaru. It snowed pretty hard in Tacoma one day. I went to go pick up a coworker from work because he was driving a Dodge Neon SRT4 with really aggressive summer tires, and I was like, "Oh, I've got a Subaru," and I thought that they were all season tires. It turned out they weren't even all seasons. Mine were more of a summer tire. But anyways, I hit the brakes and slid sideways into a curb at a really slow speed, so nothing got damaged. But put on those snowflake rated winter tires, and my car was unstoppable. It was amazing. But
So also something that was brought up in the comments was that if you have a snowflake rated tire, depending upon your area in the passes, you don't need to carry chains.
that's very true.
Because of their rating, or maybe it's you don't have to.
You still need to carry them, but it raises the amount of snow that needs to be there before you need to use the chains.
There we go. Yeah, because they have different ratings for. Yeah,
at least in Washington State.
Yeah, rules may vary state by state. Learn your own. Don't depend upon us for legal advice on which you're doing while driving.
Nice disclaimer.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to say about snow tires here is that it used to be in the past when you drove a vehicle that might not have been intended for off-road use, like the stink bug, that you'd buy snow tires so that you could have some grip in the dirt and mud. But what's really cool is, how about a Subaru Crosstrek? You wouldn't have been able to get off-road tires for that in the past, maybe 10 years ago even. Yeah. But now they're making smaller and smaller sizes. You can get KO2s for your Subaru Crosstrek, which is really cool.
Crazy enough to throw UTV tires on their rigs now.
Yeah. Yep.
Which are not DOT rated. So again,
no, there actually are UTV tires now that are DOT rated. So
things change.
There's a friend of the show up almost at the Canadian border, and he's a Corvair guy. And we were chatting off and on quite a bit, and he wanted to make his Corvair off-road, and so we got to talking about that, and he looked into the UTV tires, and because he has 13-inch wheels, and nobody makes stuff for 13-inch wheels, so I'd suggest the snow tires and the UTV with the disclaimer that they might not be DOT legal, and he found several sets that were DOT legal, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool. It's nice to see that. Well, as much as you see UTVs on the road now, that's there.
Yep.
Which comes to choosing the right brand, because some of us are biased and like certain brands. Aaron liking BF Goodrich, for instance, and I'm whatever is affordable. And Jeremy, are you a brand snob when it comes to your tires?
I've been a BF Goodrich fan for a long time. But with these Toyo MTs, I'm actually getting one over to Toyo.
So yeah, that's where it comes down. Ask your friends. Hey, what are you running? Do you like it? And it doesn't even necessarily have to come down to the size of the tire itself. Just that tread pattern, because they do come in multiple different sizes, so you can find the right application for you.
Just go wheeling with your friends. Whoever gets stuck all the time, ask them what tire they run. Don't run that tire.
That's not necessarily true.
No, not at all.
They might not be a skilled wheeler or air down and other factors, or it might not be the right tire for the type of wheeling you want to do anyways. But
or they could be taking the harder lines.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna put in my little disclaimer about asking your friends is this is one of the most hotly debated things out there on the internet, besides what kind of oil should you run. You're gonna get every single answer. You're just gonna get all the answers out there, and they're gonna tell you that they hate the other person's and they only like their kind. It's the whole Ford versus Chevy thing. People just love something one way and they're so stuck on it and stubborn that they won't do something else. That's just how it goes.
So with that, if you're asking a friend, ask instead of, "Hey, do you like that tire?" Ask, "What don't you like about that tire?" And you know those kind of questions. Ask more detailed questions um, about that tire. How did it do in the snow? How does it do in this? That will kind of help you choose because you've got to know what you want. So, do you want to rock crawl? Well, if I ask Aaron about KO2s, how do they do rock crawling? Aaron, do you rock crawl?
Not very often, no.
So maybe not the best person to ask about rock crawling with a KO2. Jeremy, you like to rock crawl with KO2s?
It's been not with KO2s, but that's my personal preference. But Rick does it very well.
Yeah. And so then I would go to Rick. Hey Rick, you've used KO2s for rock crawling. How do they do? And have you used a different tire? How did it do versus that one? You know, questions like that. Um, that's that. If you're gonna ask friends questions, ask detailed questions.
Yeah. Another thing about this, about choosing the right brand, one other sad thing about the KO2s that I bought was they didn't make it in the size that I wanted, and I had to actually go down a tire size, and that really bummed me out. And I could feel the difference and feel the performance difference with that half-inch less ground clearance and everything else. It was a totally different driving experience. So sometimes you might find the exact tire that you want, like, because I was super excited about the KO2s, and then you go back to the tire size and find out, oh, poop, they don't make it in the size I want. So you might have to go back to the drawing board several times before you find something that you really like.
Everybody makes a 35. That's all I'm saying.
Unless you're going metric, then it's like 34 and a half, right?
We'll just buy 35s. Don't be silly.
So the other one is reading reviews. I will say as a disclaimer with reading reviews, there can be some bias. There can be a lot of bias. They could be a paid review. Hey, here's this. Write a review. And if it's a bad review, don't publish it. So take those reviews with a grain of salt and then ask your friends.
And there's magazines as well that will do tire comparisons as well. So
yeah,
and that, I think, my opinion is that's a really hard comparison to do, and I feel like you want to make sure it's trusted magazine source. Don't get your mud tire review from Car and Driver. You'll want to get it from Four Wheeler. I believe Overland Journal does one every few years also for tires.
Yeah. There's quite a few out there. What is it? JP Magazine does one too, quite regularly.
So funny thing I saw the other day. This kind of is a rabbit trail, but is related. So I was scrolling through Facebook and saw somebody posted one of the groups I'm in about Jeep headlights, and I'm like, they're like the top 10 Jeep headlights. And it's like, oh, I'll take a look at that. And the company that posted it rated their Jeep headlight the number one Jeep headlight. Oh, it's like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Yeah. So you just got to be careful about who you're getting the information from, like Aaron said.
Yeah.
A website I really like, and this this will help you with making lots of decisions, is called tiresize.com. And if you go there, it will have a tire size calculator, so you can punch in what you currently have or what is stock for your vehicle and punch in the size that you're looking at, and it'll tell you how fast or slow your speedometer will be off, the difference in diameter, the difference in width from your current tire that you're running. And then another really cool thing about it is, and it's an advertising gimmick, but they will show you tires in that size. So you can literally browse tires in the size that you're looking at. And I don't think they have all the tires, but I feel like they had a really healthy selection of all the main tires for sure. So you could browse the tires and be like, oh, well, I really wanted this pizza cutter. That's me. I'm the pizza cutter guy. I like the tall, skinny tires. And Jeremy likes big, wide, fat tires.
Yep.
Anyways, I got lost in the comments there. So you punch in that size and you're like, oh sweet, all these people make that size that I want. So you can see that there's 4 manufacturers that make that very unique pizza cutter tire, and you can read reviews on them and find out what people think about it. So yeah. And it's also kind of fun. When I was shopping for this last tire, the KM3 apparently had been released in the size that I wanted, but I couldn't find anything about it online, including on BF Goodrich's website. So I ended up buying somebody else's tire. I don't even know what I went for, and it wasn't even the right. It wasn't even the pizza cutter size, and they ordered them for me. A week later they came in. My wife took my truck to work, or to the tire place, while I was at work, and they put the tires on and they rubbed like crazy. And so quickly I got off my phone, I went to that website, tiresize.com, and I punched in some more sizes, like the next size down or the next width down, narrower and stuff like that. And they had some of those on the shelf. They put those on the truck, and they didn't fit either. I was actually getting really discouraged. So she brought the truck home back on the KO2s that I was trying to not have anymore. And when I called them up and was discussing some options, they're like, well, we have this other tire in that size called the BF Goodrich KM3. And I was super excited because I didn't know that they had released that size yet. So yeah.
Yeah, that can be frustrating waiting for the right size tire to come out.
Yeah.
One thing that's not in the show notes, but I think we should talk about, what are your guys' thoughts on retreads?
I think they're great for semi trucks.
I don't have any experience with them. I like that they're more affordable, but I've heard people say they're illegal in some states on passenger vehicles or something like that. I don't know for sure on that law, so but I'd rather have a fresh tire, in my opinion, like not retreaded, even though it's more affordable and I try to stay within a budget. Um, Maybe not the best thing when I need them.
Especially for something that's going on the highway. Because it's one thing to have a tire fail when you're on the trail. It's a whole nother to have it fail when you're on the highway.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
and my honest opinion is that I don't feel like they would be putting retreads out if they were dangerous, honestly.
True.
They definitely are going to put them out if they're illegal. People aren't going to be able to buy them and put them on the tire. Schwab's going to be like, no, these are illegal. Can't put them on for you. Just like beadlocks. They won't do beadlocks, Schwab. But so I feel like they must inherently have some, they got to be safe and they got to be legal. Otherwise they wouldn't be selling them and people wouldn't be buying them. They would be advertising them. But my personal gut feeling is I don't want to take the risk. I don't want to take the chance. I'll spend that extra $300 or whatever it might cost to buy a name brand that isn't a retread. I wish I had Toyo money, because I'd probably be a Toyo fanboy. I hear nothing but good things about them. Although I have heard that when you get really big in the Toyos, they get hard to balance.
Yeah, I had Toyos on my 4Runner or my Jeep for a little bit, and they were really hard. They got hard really quick, like after a year. And so like I'd lose traction in the on the wet road. So my tires would break free more often, and I was not a fan of that. So
you didn't like Tokyo drifting?
No, not my Jeep.
Do,
Not
do, 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 do.
So yeah. Well, I think that about wraps up this episode, guys.
Yeah, there's some tire talk.
It's tire talk. If you're interested in us talking tires again, or getting a manufacturer on, that's been something I've wanted to do forever. Let us know. And who you'd like to hear. so we can start reaching out to them and be like, hey, we have listeners that want to hear you talk. And I know we've been talking to Andy about doing a wheel episode.
Yeah, we need to do wheels next.
Yep.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.
And thanks for viewing live. All right.
Shut down that YouTube feed there, Jeremy.
Why can't I figure out how to shut it down?
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Little people on YouTube getting a little extra bonus action as I'm trying
Bonus
to
content.
find it this time. I found it last time.
Top of the screen in the middle by the live.
I don't know.
Terrible person.
I know. Well, we'll just hang out and joke and see what comes out of it, right?
This is the Patreon area.
Yeah. Jeez, I can't find it.
I don't know what was up with my soundboard.
Yeah, I don't know what that flapping was.
The helicopter noise.
Yeah, whatever that was.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was something to do with my
Rick-
computer. Oh,
Rick says he could hear it.
yeah.
Yeah, I could hear it on the live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably the connection to my soundboard, to my computer.
My guess was going to be maybe something wasn't plugged in all the way. I did the plug it in the rest of the way thing.
Oh, I never mentioned that I won't be here next week. I'll be in Montana.
That's okay. It'll just be a happy surprise for the listeners.
Except for the ones that are still watching live on YouTube right now.
Oh yeah, I know. Why can't I find it? Jeez.
Top of the screen, Dingleberry.
It's not top of the screen, not where I'm at.
Maybe expand your screen to full size. Make it take up your whole desktop.
I already did that.
All right.
Turn off recording. Try that.
You
What's that?
Luddite.
Turn off the recording at the top. Try that.
But- Are you talking on Zoom?
Yes.
Because I'm on YouTube trying to figure it out.
Oh,
That's why.
yeah. Maybe go to Zoom.
Well, it doesn't. Zoom doesn't control it. It just starts it.
So I
Ah.
guess the evolution is not a hybrid. It's a siped mud terrain essentially. So like the tread blocks in the middle have siping. Like a sipe groove. I don't know how to describe it. So for the 35 12 and a halves on tirebuyer.com, they are, that website's pretty awesome, by the way. Did you figure it out yet?
Nope.
No, we're still live.
Yep, we're
Don't
still
pick your-
live.
Don't pick your nose yet.
With leave? Try that.
What's that?
Leave.
I don't think that would work.
I'm serious. Go to Zoom at the top where it says live on YouTube. You probably you're terrible.